What's going on, everybody? My name is C4. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're doing our second ever Madden 25 realistic rebuild, where we take a team and get real players from college football, throw them on the team, and try and win a Super Bowl. At minimum, in 5 seasons. At maximum, within 10 seasons. That is our time frame to achieve the ultimate success here in the NFL. And today, we are rebuilding the Las Vegas Raiders, a team that 2 weeks ago, after upsetting the Baltimore Ravens, had people saying, okay, is Minshew Mania going to run wild a little bit? Davante Adams looks happy. Brock Bowers looks like an absolute superstar. And on the defensive side of the ball, you got Spillane, who's one of the more solid linebackers in the league. You got Wilkins, great addition in free agency. And then you got Max Crosby, who is debatably one of the best defensive players in the league. But that was week 2. Week 3, at home, they get embarrassed by Andy Dalton and the Carolina Panthers. Antonio Pierce, after the game, calls out certain players for making business decisions. And then he opens things up for maybe a little bit of a quarterback controversy, whether it be Minshew or AOC as their starter. So it does seem like, especially from the Raiders fan base, starting to question whether or not Antonio Pierce is the man, the right coach to lead this team to a Super Bowl. So that is what we're going to try to do. I like Antonio Pierce. I like what he brings. I get he's going to have limitations, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But I'm going to try my best to keep him here. I'll do the work in the draft. I'll do the work in free agency. You help me develop these players, and I think we'll go on and have a lot of success here. Looking at the Raiders roster, however, on the offense, you feel pretty good about that left-hand side. Colton Miller, 87 star dev on the right side of 30. James is a solid center. You got Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon in the, a second round, third round pick in the draft. He was a guy that a lot of people had as a first rounder. I believe he did slip due to the injuries concerns, but he still goes in the second round, and that's a guy that brings great versatility. He can play everywhere on the interior of the offensive line, but ultimately I do think that left-hand side of the O-line is kind of set and forget for the most part of this rebuild. And then the right-hand side of the offensive line, you can go with the veterans of Whitehair and Pete. I'm going to go with the younger players, more upside, just to see what we can have and what we can develop in Parham and Munford Jr. In the backfield, we got Zamir White and Madison. It's like a not great 1-2 punch. Zamir White has some Darren McFadden to his game, a little bit bigger of a running back, but has great athleticism. And I think at only 24 years old, there's a chance that maybe we can use him to a role where he might get a dev trait, might get 1,000-some yards. We'll see. We'll give him an opportunity, but if not, don't know if we have the franchise running back on the roster. We don't have that true Josh Jacobs successor. At the receiving room, we got Davante Adams, you got Jacoby Myers, you got Trey Tucker, who has great speed, but, there's an elephant in the room. And the elephant is Davante Adams happy? We all know he came to Vegas because he was a Vegas fan. He wanted to play with Derek Carr. And I watched receiver. He did not look very happy to be there anymore once they got rid of Derek Carr. That being said, I think we still give it a chance. And if, before the trade deadline, things don't look great, maybe we move Davante Adams, because work's going to need to be done here for this roster. I'm seeing 3-4 years minimum, and where's Davante Adams going to be at 3-4 years from now? Now, there's an argument to be made that if we go out and get a quarterback, someone like Davante Adams, that's a great veteran safety net to help our young quarterback. Completely valid. But there also needs to be understanding that we are very far away from contending, and his value is never going to be higher. So I'm looking around at who could actually be a trade that we could make here. Some of them, obviously, we're not going to take some of these teams to the woodshed. Oh yeah, let's get 3 tight ends. That's what we need. I can see that one. Manuel Forbes already seems like the Commanders are ready to wash their hands of that debatably bust. I wish there was more picks in that one, they were higher. If that was Emmanuel Forbes in a second-round pick, I'd consider it. This is another one. Michael Pittman just got paid, and he's done nothing for the Colts. And the Colts are willing to throw in a second-round pick. I'll be honest, that is incredibly interesting, because that is the pick and player. He's 26 years old, so we're getting 5 more years of a premier wide receiver. And, again, maybe a little bit of buyer's remorse on the Colts for paying Michael Pittman, who's got outshined this year by Alec Pierce. And now that Josh Downs is back and they got a Donai Mitchell, that could happen. So I still think we revisit. We get Davante Adams to start this season, but this is a rebuild. And if you are rebuilding a team like this, you absolutely need to capitalize on the value that Davante Adams brings. Tight end's another interesting one. This is in real life, I think you absolutely can have 2 tight ends. In Madden, it makes no sense to have 2 tight ends. And Brock Bowers is like a 72 if I move him to wide receiver. I always kind of thought all along you could have Brock Bowers be like a tight end slot hybrid because he is very much a receiving tight end. He is outstanding. He looks outstanding in real life through 3 weeks. He looks absolutely like the real deal. He's an absolute stud. But the downside of just the roster construction of the Raiders is I still think there's a lot of upside in Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer is like a prototypical tight end. The nickname Baby Gronk in college, I think there's still a lot of value there. We've traded for him in other rebuilds, and he's developed into like a 90-plus rated player. However, there's just no real way I don't think we can get creative with these guys to move one to wide receiver. I just don't necessarily think the value is going to be there. So I am going to throw Michael Mayer up on the trade block. I'm not going to give him away, but I really want a nice, if the right trade partner comes along, I think it makes the most sense to move on from Michael Mayer and also consider Davante Adams before the trade deadline. And then you got quarterback. We'll go Minshew Mania, but the idea here, starting with the Raiders for our realistic rebuild, is, you probably already know, but when you click on the video, I don't know how it's going to play out, but we're going to look towards the 2025 draft for a quarterback. Defensively, great. I'm sick and tired of rebuilding teams that are 3-4 defenses. I hate 3-4 defenses. We'll try it. We got Tyree Wilson, who's just former first-round pick, lost all of his dev traits. Now he's just a normal dev player. Awesome. That's great for the upside of the defense. Wilson's still a big-time athlete, so I'm not going to write him off, but we got some work to do. Diablo and Spillane inside. They're solid linebackers. Spillane's pretty underrated. You got Christian Wilkins coming over from the Dolphins. That's a good signing, but outside of that, not a lot of upside on the defense. Kuhn's kind of out of position. It also would make more sense to have Tyree Wilson. Isn't he like 20 pounds heavier, play down the line? But it's a weird, it doesn't seem like the Raiders should be in a 3-4, but and hey, I'll tell you right, that if things don't look good, that is absolutely going to be one of the top of the list changes we will make because I despise 3-4 defenses in Madden. But safety, you get Epps, former Philadelphia Eagle, big hitter, kind of average in coverage. Morig, upside, 80 with a start F. Hobbs is solid. They got Jones, who I believe what they say, like Antonio Pierce was like his high school coach or something like that. There's a cool story there. They got Darnay Holmes, who I've always thought was an underrated nickel corner. Jacorian Bennett, solid, good, big-time athlete, big-time speed. The defense is solid, and it's obviously led by one of the best defensive players in the league in Max Crosby, who is, if you believe the reports, pretty much responsible for Antonio Pierce getting the job, because basically, I believe the rumor was, if they did not give AP the head coaching job, he was going to hand in a trade request, and that is, obviously, let's be honest, that's not how you want your team to be ran, but that is kind of the nature of the beast there, and especially with the Raiders and how things ended with Khalil Mack, you got to make your top-tier edge rushers happy. As you can see here, Brock Bowers in training camp, all the hype. He's like, this guy's a tight end? He can stretch the field. He can put up almost 20K in drills. He might be generational. We're able to find a trade partner for Michael Mayer, and I think it's a wise decision for a team like the Carolina Panthers to get a safety net with the upside. Michael Mayer, former second-round pick, so we're able to recoup that second-round pick only a year after he was drafted, but we also had to throw in a 4th, 5th, and 7th, which is a little annoying, but it still is going to allow us to have a 1st, a 2nd, and a 3rd-round pick in this upcoming draft where we don't know if we're going to have to trade up for a quarterback. We've caught up to present day where the Vegas Raiders are 1-2, and you never want to be at week 3 of the season, going into week 4, and just start doing mock drafts, And I kind of feel like maybe that's where the Raider fans are at, and they are looking at the quarterbacks. We get a good group. I really do think you got the first 5 could all be legitimate first rounders when all is said and done. We've already used Quinn Ewers in our first realistic rebuild with the Giants, so I'm going to eliminate him. I'm not saying it's the only time we will, but I'm not going to go back-to-back. But Carson Beck, a lot of people do consider him the top quarterback in the draft class. You got Jalen Monroe, who has elite athletic traits, somewhat adjacent to like an Anthony Richardson, where I think you're going to draft him based off of his traits, sit him, and hopefully develop him. You got Shedeur Sanders, who, in terms of being pro-ready, is probably the most pro-ready quarterback in this draft class, but you get all the off-field baggage in a place like Vegas. It's interesting. Cam Ward, the Washington State transfer, is lighting it up at Miami. You got to wonder if he's in the conversation. Drew Aller's been kind of killing it for Penn State, gives you that prototypical size that you look for at the... So, I mean, there's a lot of different options. I'm gonna say we're probably leaning towards one of these three, be it Beck, Milrow, or Shedeur. Who do you think we should get? Comment. I already, you have no influence over it. But maybe, if I go with Carson Beck and everyone says we should go with Shedeur, and Shedeur ends up becoming a prolific MVP, winning the Super Bowl at times, and we don't do anything, then we know that the people that commented Shedeur were right. So unfortunately, ahead of the trade deadline, our one win still remains over the Ravens as we're 1-5, and we are through 6 games, and Davante Adams has 13 catches for 159 yards. We'll do right by him. And looking at the trade offers that we're getting, I really do think that this could happen. But the Colts did just re-sign Michael Pittman. Would they be willing to give up on him this soon for a better but 5-year-old wide receiver? I don't know. I think the most realistic trade is with the Commanders. And I hate to do this to every other team in the NFC East, but you have Emmanuel Forbes, who almost feels like at this point is like a borderline healthy scratch for the Commanders in real life. At least in the context of Madden, at 23 years old, 76 with the star dev, there's a very high ceiling there that he is going to be able to develop into a very nice corner in this league. I think he's going to have a great opportunity here with us because we'll have him on one side, Hobbs on the other, with Jack Jones in the slot. That's going to give us 3 star dev corners on the right side of 30. We're also getting that second-round pick, which I think would be like the ultimate value that I think Davante Adams would go for in real life. At this stage, you also get a future fifth, but Forbes and a second from the Commanders, a big-time weapon for a wide receiver-hungry team of the Commanders to go get a weapon for Jaden Daniels. But you know what? I will say, in this scenario, I roasted the Carolina Panthers, getting rid of DJ Moore, giving him to the Bears, and leaving Bryce Young with no weapons. And then finally, Justin Fields had some weapons. It didn't work out there, but you're kind of moving pieces around and still haven't really solved that issue. Could kind of view this as a similar situation. We are trading away Davante Adams to go get some assets with the idea that we're eventually going to bring in a quarterback that we would wish we had a Davante Adams to help the development of our young quarterback. Salute. So let's look at some contracts. Everything else is kind of doom and gloom. We have $98 million, and we got to view this as like who is going to be a part of this rebuild. Is there anybody here that we see with a ceiling that we're going to want to invest in them right now? I feel like someone like Diablo, if there was interest, sure. The fact that there's no interest, I don't really want to overpay for a guy that's, how much higher is his ceiling? Same with Madison. I do think, like Morik, I like the interest there. 25, 6, 7, 8. Let's give him 4-year, $22 million. Keep him for the remainder of his prime. I like that Nate Hobbs has some interest. Let's get him on a 5-year, 33. Both reasonable contracts for guys that still have much higher ceilings. I do think Spillane is kind of like one of Antonio Pierce's guys. And the fact that I've committed for Antonio Pierce being our coach, I think we keep Spillane. He's also one of my IDP linebackers, so I have a soft spot for him. I do think Kuntz and Diablo are the two kind of interesting ones. I think they have limited ceilings, but a dev trait role here or there could make them look a lot more appealing as a prospect. So I think for both of them, let's wait to see what happens at the end of the year. They're both starters for us this year on normal devs. If they get the dev trait increase, we have plenty of money to throw their way. If not, we'll see if we can maybe draft some players with maybe higher ceilings. We pretty much signaled to the rest of the league that we were tanking after we got rid of Davante Adams and Michael Mayer, and you'll get our rankings. Not hot. We go 4-13 on the season. We were the worst team in the AFC. I don't know if we're the first. There's a lot to process here. What I'm processing, 1 is Max Crosby. Awesome. 2, Josh Jacobs. That's annoying. 3, Patrick Mahomes with 58 passing touchdowns, breaking the single season record. And we're going to compete against that every year for this rebuild. So that's great. Honestly, the offensive output of Minshew, 3,500 yards, so, fine. 31 touchdowns, awesome. 22 picks. What I at least can decipher from this is that we got a scheme here. We got an offensive scheme here that a better a better quarterback, once we build this offense up a little bit, it could get humming. We got under 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns from Zamir White. Would have loved to see 1,000 there. Only 1 fumble on the season. More so for him to chase that dev trade increase He's developed nicely. He's up to almost an 80 overall at 24 years old. So still a lot of good football ahead of him. However, we may or may not be finding the ceiling for a running back in our Raiders scheme, which might hurt come contract extension time, because it just might be one of those rebuilds. We don't pay running backs because they're not a focal point of the offense. Brock Bowers goes over 1,000 yards from the tight end spot. There's a few offenses that you will see, like Kansas City, Atlanta. Those have been offenses that I've seen like tight ends put up big numbers, and you might as well add Vegas to the list. I did consider him just like putting him at slot wide receiver, just because that's usually a safe option to making sure he got the most targets and the best production, because we do not want any depth trait regression or anything like that. He is the focal point of our offense, especially after trading from Devontae Adams. We got Jacoby Myers, went over 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, 6 and 3 from Trey Tucker. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of hoping Tucker would get that stat line because there's a little bit more upside. But Brock Bowers, 1,000 yards in a rookie campaign for the superstar tight end out of Georgia. You know what? We might as well just put the C on his chest. Big-time leader, brings winning mentality from Georgia, and we're going to need him on the come-up for this Raiders team. Defensively, Spillane, we have 3 players go over 100 tackles, which is never really a good thing to see. But, hey, shout out Spillane. Might, with that type of season, get off that normal dev. But he is 28, turning 29, which tends to be a doomsday for defensive players, pretty much any players. Max Crosby, second in the NFL in sacks with 15.5, 6 DFLs, 78 tackles, 8.5 sacks from Tyree Wilson, which you love to see. 4 sacks from Wilkins. That could be a little bit better, but ultimately, I am one to quickly hit the panic button and switch off a 3-4 to a 4-3. I mean, I'm seeing something interesting here. Maybe staying with it with the Vegas Raiders. Max Crosby in the top 5 for Defensive Player of the Year. Brock Bowers runs away with Offensive Rookie of the Year, which, with his stats, might get an X Factor role. And we did finish with the number 1 overall pick. Panthers tried their best by losing 5 in a row, but for whatever reason, we get the tiebreaker. Nice. And for our ABC Super Bowl, anybody but the Chiefs in our Madden rebuilds, even if it is the 49ers, which is gross, at least the Chiefs didn't win. For our end of season upgrade, Brock Bowers got a little icon there above his captain badge, which can only mean one thing. And that is he is now a superstar X Factor, which debatably he should have, could have, maybe would have got that dev trade out the get-go. But that is huge because we lost our X Factor receiver in Devontae Adams, gained one here in Brock Bowers. As far as the rest of the team, on dev traits, Jackson Powers Johnson from the same draft class was hidden dev, and he got unveiled as a start. No other dev traits up or down offensively. On the defensive side of the ball, Max Crosby keeps his. I thought Spillane might have had a chance. I was wrong. Tyree Wilson could have had a chance. I was wrong. We did get a star dev trait increase on Epps, but he's hitting the open market here in free agency. I'm just going to go through the roster here, looking at the landscape, trying to ultimately see if there's any contracts we got the books. Not really the case, but we have DeCameron Richardson, the rookie corner out of Mississippi State. Strong safety just opened up with Epps, hitting the open market. We have no strong safety on the roster. Usually I would just, just sign someone. Free agency, just a rental. We might have something here in Richardson for a corner. 6'2", 195. 94 speed, 92 acceleration, 85 agility is coverage, but look at the tackling. 78 tackle on a corner. You, sir, are our new safety. We make a couple nice signings here in free agency. We got Gibbons to come in alongside Spillane to be the anchor in the middle of our defense. Not the biggest athlete, but more of a high IQ player, someone that Antonio Pierce would identify with. And then we got Rondale Moore at wide receiver. Paid a little more than what I would have liked to, but the upside is still there. 25 years old, 80 overall, brings elite athleticism, very similar to Trey Tucker, which is going to help us with whatever quarterback we end up getting. It's going to give us, the ability to stretch the field, which is something that you always need. It'll help on the D-line, so we're going to bring in Bobby Brown to be our nose tackle. Prototypical size, 6'4", 325 pounds. We get the Canadian Neville Gallimore, potentially could start on our front 3. But with our 2 second rounds and a 3rd round pick, we may need to show a little love to the D-line. Taking a look at the final mock draft. It has the Raiders going Quinn Ewers, a.k.a. we're going to grab the top quarterback available. I don't know if we have any other quarterbacks going in the 1st round. Oh, Jalen Milroe, but he's scouted as a 2nd, 3rd round talent. Yikes. Carson Beck also squeaking there in the 1st round. Okay. So it is now time. Pick 1-1 of the 2025 NFL Draft. Which quarterback is going to be the one that can take this Raiders team out of purgatory. Knowing that Quinn Ewers is off the board, we got 3 quarterback options: Shedeur Sanders, Jalen Milroe, and Carson Beck. I'm not going to lie. When I started and I thought about the Raiders, maybe there was a chance. Maybe there was a subliminally, it was the fact that I saw a Carson Beck Raiders jersey swap, and I was like, you know what? That could happen. And I mean, you look at the stats, looks pretty good. But I also saw another jersey swap that made me go, that just seems right. That just seems like the landing spot that his dad would give a thumbs up to. Seems like Antonio Pierce would be a coach that he would respond well to. So with the first overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select out of Colorado by way of Jackson, Shedeur Sanders. Let's get the stats here. Oh, that looks good. I'll say this, man. Shedeur, he looks like a first round. I know there's going to be the off-field baggage, leadership concerns, but he probably throws the prettiest ball in all of 2025. Has undeniable traits on field that make him a first round. It's everything that, I don't almost make the argument, maybe he doesn't have the S-tier arm, but it's almost everything off field that has people worried in maybe proclaiming he's not a first rounder. 61 in true value, get him at number 1, but he rolls with the dev trait. And I think it's going to be on us to build the team around this guy to prove that he is truly a franchise quarterback and one good enough to bring a Super Bowl here to Vegas. Now, the first pick of the second round, I think we show a little TLC to the offense. There's some interesting running backs, but I still think, Zamir White can get the job done. Don't really need help at wide receiver. We feel good at tight end. I mean, I'm not going to say we don't really need help at wide receiver, but I think we can invest a little bit more. I used 2 of my 3 focus scouting on tackle and guards. The tackle, I was looking at the one out of Minnesota. He's off the board. But Ratledge out of Georgia is still here. First, second round at guard. Not a super sexy pick, but we fully scouted him. 6'6", 310, 3 Bs, and an A. Combine looks pretty good. And I think if you've ever watched Shedeur Sanders in Colorado play, for the love of God, give this guy an offensive line. Let's see what he looks like with a legitimate O-line. And right now, in Vegas, we do not necessarily have all the pieces to claim that our O-line is legitimate. But if Ratledge is a good rating, would love to see a dev trait. It's going to go a long way. 33rd in true value, and we get him at 33. No dev trait, unfortunately. Stings. Oh, it stings. We're back on the clock at pick 7. So nice little trait there, and I believe we still have one of our Focus Scout players available. We're in that round. We need help on the front 3, and we have 2 options. We have Landon Jackson at 6'7", 282 out of Arkansas, or we have Jordan Burch, 6'6", 294. Both these guys scheme fits for us on our front, but we'll go with the player that we have scouted here in Landon Jackson. Gigantic frame, the combine, running a sub 4.7. It will allow us to keep Tyree Wilson at pass rush on the outside. I was thinking maybe putting him down on the front 3, but he had 8.5 sacks last year. I'm going to continue to build on that. So someone like Jackson come in, go on that defensive front. Would love to see a dev trait. Come on. 51 in true value at 39, but we do get the dev trait. Let's go. I say all that. We are back at 26, and to solve the D-line, we still have Jordan Burch on the board, who we're kind of flipping back and forth for. And at 300 pounds almost, running a 4.79. I mean, he's high on Bruce Feldman's freak list. I'm interested. But then we got 4.9 on Kenneth Grant at nose tackle. We're spoiled with options here. But then you look at David Bailey, who's another big-time athlete out of Stanford. Speed rusher, which we don't necessarily need, but if we make a move like this, you then would potentially look at Tyree Wilson going down that front. 6'3", 240, ran a 4.41. Elite speed. That's an Al Davis pick right there. Do we honor Al Davis? My gut still says we need to go nose tackle. We bought Robbie Brown as like a rental. Kenneth Grant still a big-time athlete for the position. We're passing on some freaks. Sorry. I wouldn't say sorry. We still got a guy that's kind of Don Terry Poe adjacent. 82nd in true value, getting him at 58, but we do get the dev trait. and he likely will be a day one starter for us at D-tackle. We don't really have to shuffle a lot of things around, because like we could have looked at like maybe kicking Christian Wilkins into nose tackle and then having someone go a pass rush, or having Tyree Wilson. It's a lot of moving pieces. This gives us a little bit more stability, and very happy that he has a dev trait. With our final true pick, because we don't pick again until the 6th round, first pick of the 2nd round, I still think, even with bringing in Jack Gibbons, we could look for a long-term option line. We got Sonny Styles, 6'4", 235. It's kind of, think like Isaiah Simmons for Ohio State. Play that like safety, linebacker hybrid. He's still got elite traits in agility and speed. So with our final, hopeful, impactful playmaker from the 2025 draft, Sonny Styles out of Ohio State. Oh no. Got the dev trait though. There's some upside there, but the rating might not be the best. So take a look at our draft recap. Pretty happy with it, all things considered. We got Sturdivant with our final pick at a UCLA. Stayed on the West Coast, 6'3" with 94 speed. Just normal dev. Sonny Styles, 68. Linebacker, which his rating might... Let's see if it shifts. We move him inside by any chance. I don't think it will. But the athletic profile is to die for. And honestly, we might have to get him on the field sooner than later. And it does go up 1 point. So there we go. 69 hidden dev for Styles. 71 hidden dev for Kenneth Grant, who also likely will be a day one. We're going to go young on the defensive side of the ball. Landon Jackson, 73 with a hidden dev. He's likely also going to be a day one starter on that defensive line. Unfortunately, Ratledge, I won't necessarily say unfortunately, we have a very blessed draft class here, but 74 normal. Offensive linemen don't tend to go up dev trade either. So that's going to stunt his ceiling just a little bit. But he should definitely develop into a legitimate starting lineup for us. And we obviously, with the number 1 pick, 73 overall for Shedeur Sanders. 90 throw power, 86 medium accuracy, 88 short, 82 break sack. Athletically, good enough to get the job done. Let's see if he can do it. So we're always going to be under the media pressure to talk about whether or not Shedeur's going to be our starter. We have Gardner Minshew, who absolutely fits the mold of that like stopgap quarterback while you bring in, but I don't think we got a lot of time to kind of sit around and let him develop. And I don't think there's that big of a drop-off. Again, we drafted Shedeur knowing that he is going to be the most pro-ready quarterback from this class. Let's throw him to the Wolves. Hey, look at this. First game of his career at home against the Cowboys. That's as prime time as it gets against his dad's or one of his dad's former teams. Let's introduce the world to the Raiders' new starting franchise quarterback. There we go. Debut. Be legendary. See if we can get who's going to get his first completion. It is going to be Rondale Moore. The free agency acquisition coming off a torn ACL, missing the entirety of the 2024 season. Oh, no. Just one. Growing pains. Growing pains, yep. I don't think we've had one wide receiver win today and get open. So here's hoping. Something here on 3rd down. We'll change that. We got growing pains. Let's go Brock Bowers. Who else are we going to go to? 3rd and 6. And we should have just dumped it off to the running back. Trying to force feed our only... take the points. Ooh, Zamir White. Let's go. That's what we need to start the second half. And I just, to be a Cowboy hater here, you know they're terrible this year. Like, look like one of the worst teams in the league. Do you think, like, when they do, like, the mid-season ratings update, if Dallas is still, like, undeniably terrible, especially, like, you look at that Saints loss, yeah, you know, made it competitive against Baltimore, but for the better part, Dallas has looked terrible. Do you think they'd make it till they actually suck in Madden for once? Like, if they're that bad in real life? Undeniably bad in real life? That'd be cool. 3rd and 7 on the 11. We honestly, I think we're 4 down territory here. Got Trey Tucker in the slot, Rondale Moore, Brock Bowers, Labe out the backfield. We're going to float that into Brock Bowers. And there we go. Who else for Shedeur Sanders' first NFL touchdown? than that freaking robot, Brock Bowers. Great throw by Shedeur off. I mean, the game's not competitive at this point, but you can still finish with your head held high and get some momentum going into next week. And there, hey, Jacoby Myers. Makes it look a little bit more respectable. There we go. Let the running back do the work for you. Shedeur goes over 300 yards on the day. And we'll just cheese another one in there to Brock Bowers. It's ugly. It was ugly. Always got to be. Growing pains. But ultimately, the stat line gives you a sense of optimism. 300 yards, 3 touchdowns to 2 turnovers. We broke even there. That's hopefully, this is the humbling intro to the NFL for Shedeur. And the rest of his rookie campaign is smooth sailing and hopefully offensive rookie of the year worthy. After an 0-2 start, we shockingly upset the Kansas City Chiefs 28-20. And off that win, we get a breakout for Zamir White in a very winnable matchup that we should be optimistic. Whatever this goal we are going to set for him should get him off that dev trait. What is Labe? Get Labe 2 touchdowns. What? The receiving back. We end up defeating the Patriots 24-21 with the surprising breakout for Labe, which is, I've never had the backup running back get a dev trait scenario ahead of the normal dev running back that's the clear-cut starter. But now that gives us something interesting to think about in the backfield. He needed 2 times. Well, he's our receiving back. Is he just going off? No, he literally had 7 yards and vultured 2 touchdowns away from Zamir White. So obviously, I've now made Labe our starting running back, and he has another breakout after we beat the Chargers. We're on a 2-game win streak. Dylan Labe, and Labe was a big time, I think he was like a D2 player, but he put up like Christian McCaffrey numbers at a D2 level. And we're kind of utilizing him as a now every down back. We get 4,500 XP. And we've seen the last time we got a roll like this was back in a Philadelphia Eagles regular rebuild with Reed Blankenship, who's been awesome in real life this year. His 2 interceptions, game-sealing pick last week against the Saints. Don't worry about it. But we had him go from normal to X Factor in 1 year. I'm not saying that that's going to be the same case here for Labe, but you can usually snowball a dev trade in Madden 25 a lot easier than in previous games. So I'll definitely be something to keep tabs on throughout this season. As a card-carrying member of the White Running Back Club, we don't force the issue, but if something happens that can give us potentially like a Peyton Hillis 1-year wonder that might turn into something else, it's kind of cool. Ahead of the trade deadline, we do have depth here in Parham, who's just not playing. 75-26, solid starting lineman, and we got 2 offers here at linebacker. One from Micah McFadden at 25 years old, or we got Cedric Gray, who's a lot more athletic at 22, and with Spillane getting up there in age, I think Cedric Gray could, he's on that rookie contract, develop into something. Let's do it. I'm telling you, it's continuing. We got a loss against the Colts. 2 straight losses, not ideal as we fall below 500. But it's Labe, an opportunity now to continue his depth trade. Looking for a superstar. It's going to be a lot more difficult to achieve. Oh, okay. No, we'll just keep getting XP. Appreciate it. All right, the other one. All about Labe. Thought it would be Shedeur Sanders. It's the Labe show. Get him 125 yards and 2 touchdowns to go up to a superstar dev against the Denver Broncos ahead of our bye week. Alrighty, let's see it. Week 9, we win 24-20. I love the fact we look at our rushing offense. It's top 10 in the league right now, which has me be somewhat optimistic. Even if we don't get it, we might continue just to get a lot of XP. The fact that he started the season as like a 68 overall, even silver lining XP. So during our bye week, let's look at some contracts. We should have and do have very nice salary cap situation here. How are we going to handle business, though? That is interesting. We have Carlson. I hate paying special teamers, but we have so much money, and he is one of the better kickers in the league. Same with Cole at punter. Even though there's not a lot of interest. There's not a lot of interest. Let's say we give him a generous 2-year, $9 million and we get him locked together. It's just, you know, when the Raiders aren't the best, having decent special teams is pretty Raider thing to be. We got Thayer Munford at tackle. I would like to see him continue to develop. I think there might be something there. If we can get him up into the 80s, we won't really have to worry about it. Minshew can low. I honestly think with the breakout of Labe, we don't necessarily have to pay Zamir White. We got Jack Jones. I'd be cool with a 2-year deal. He's on the fence. Well, I'm on the fence of letting you go back to New England, where I'm pretty sure was he the guy that got arrested with like guns and shit and can't just do that. Anyways, Colton Miller, 4-year, $78 million deal. Got him locked in. Franchise tackle. Jacoby Myers. This one's interesting. Our wide receiver room's not the best. So I wonder if we can knock this down and get him signed on a 2-year. Keep him. I don't want to do that. No, I'm not going to do that. All right, we gave him about $400,000 more for a 2-year contract, which gets him locked in. And for Jack Jones, I do want to kind of keep him here. So we'll go 2.5, 2-year, $10 million. There we go. At the end of year 2, we see good progression, I think, all things considered. A top 20 offense. Passing yards could be better, but I will say passing yards is sometimes misleading. I'll take 205 passing yards a game if we're still getting 30-plus touchdowns. I feel like touchdowns are more important for a quarterback. Rushing offense, great. Defense, great. Full kudos. Maybe the Raiders actually have a really good 3-4 sim defense. One of the only ones. We were what were you, 8? So we would have been second team out of the playoffs. So we don't really have a whole lot that we can complain upon. Looking at the stats this season, Shedeur, ooh. It's rough. That's you know what though? We have no weapons outside of Brock Bowers that will elevate a. It's what we said. If we had Devontae Adams, I bet he has way better stats. We do not. We got Rondale Moore, who's kind of like a gadget offensive player. Our wide receiver one is Jacoby Myers. We pounded the rock pretty good. It was 1,000 yards, 14 touchdowns for Labe, who had his breakout. He also had 300 yards, so he had over 1,000. 5-2, 6-5, 7-3. Brock. So, and I mean, we didn't hype up the Rondale Moore free agency signing like he was going to be. You know, he's a role player. We got Jacoby Myers on a 2-year. Tucker's kind of a niche player. We still absolutely need like a wide receiver one. We do not have our wide receiver one yet, and I do think that will be where we target it in the draft or the next couple drafts, because sometimes there are beastly wide receivers that are available. But I'm not going to expect Shedeur to put up great numbers until we get him that wide receiver. But Happy Rock Bowers still continues to eat and thrive in this system. Defensively, Spillane and Styles both go over 100 tackles on the year. We get 13 sacks from Crosby, 9.5 from Tyree Wilson, 9 from Wilkins, 8.5 from the rookie Landon Jackson, and that might put him and or Sonny Styles in the discussion for Defensive Rookie of the Year. 5 picks, Nate Hobbs, 4 for Spillane, 2 for... I mean, this is outstanding numbers that I haven't seen in a very long time from a 3-4 defense. Shedeur Sanders does win Offensive Rookie of the Year, which could help. Damn, Jack Sawyer, Ohio State pass rusher, gets Defensive Player of the Year with Sonny Styles and Landon Jackson coming at 2 and 3 ahead of Travis Hunter. The good news is our 2 standout rookies got some nice XP boost laces. Shedeur Sanders got 11,000 XP for hitting 3,500 yards passing, which that's pretty reasonable for a starting quarterback. But with that, it'll take him up, and he's very close to an 81 overall at the end of his campaign. And we just got +1 throw power. Those are rare to get. 91. There we go. That's not bad. Well, just for comparison, because we did Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers was definitely a little ahead of schedule of Shedeur Sanders at this point, but, you know, having a tight end is not the same as having freaking Malik Neighbors. So a little bit of a different situation offensively. And then Sonny Styles gets 4 points here of progression, and he gets his gigantic XP for 100 tackles in a season. He gets 1,400 XP. Yeah, that'll do it. So lame, man. It's so lame. I hope whoever this is done purposely, and I hope whoever does it is happy that this is what happens in 90% of franchise modes, that everyone that plays this game. All right, we got our OC wanting to close out with some off-season workouts, and I do think we just continue to hammer home Labe as a guy that, you know, this is the exit meeting. We're letting Zamir White walk in free agency. Have a hell of a workout, kid. Every single week. You got to take your game to the next level. You are going to be our running back 1 next season. Work on speed, agility, and acceleration. I'm not gonna lie. If we can get speed, agility, acceleration. See, these are the scenarios. I feel like this is like the big addition of franchise mode in Madden 25. I feel like half the scenarios are completely unnecessary. And then I think there's other ones like this, for better or for worse, not just because obviously this is obviously a positive one that's going to net some positive come the beginning of training camp. But we need more like that. More that has effect on, like, not morale, you know? Look at our team in closing. Dev traits. On the offensive side of the ball, Labe got it. Ooh, superstar on Shedeur for offensive rookie. It has to be, because we did not, he did not statistically have the best of seasons, probably threw too many interceptions. But a situation that we've had a couple times in rebuild not yield dev trait, pretty cool that Shedeur gets that, and that's going to be very nice for his growth and development. So statistically and overall, a little bit behind Quinn Ewers from our Giants rebuild. Go check that out. But dev trait way high, because Quinn Ewers did not get the superstar till 4 years in, 3-4 years in. Brock Bowers, the X Factor continues to develop. I think it's inevitable that he will be a 99 overall before too long. Defensively, as far as dev traits are concerned, Grant and Jackson were hidden dev rookies. They were stars. Sonny Styles was a hidden dev rookie as a star dev. We lost a star dev on Jack Jones, who we just gave a new contract. Thought Richardson starting as a normal dev would have an opportunity to go up. I think, honestly, out of everybody, the only guy that I think has the biggest complaint is Tyree Wilson. He's been flirting with double-digit sacks, cannot get off normal dev. We are going to pick up the 5th-year option for Emmanuel Forbes, who's playing nicely, and Tyree Wilson, who also is playing, I would argue both these guys playing better than their ratings. I was really hoping for a splash wide receiver signing, but did not exist. So we're going to go out. We need running back competition. We're going to bring in Keaton Mitchell, kind of going and committing all into speed. We got Sawyer for depth on the interior offensive line. We got Calcaterra from the Eagles for depth behind Brock Bowers. But for wide receiver, there's just old man Mike Evans. We could bring him in for, I mean, I don't know. I feel like we push all of our eggs in the basket of trading up in the draft if there's a good wideout when we do our final 3 focus scouts. So for our final scouting, we do need a safety. So I'm going to scout the top 2 safeties here in Freeman and Callahan. Could potentially be in range. But wide receivers, the big position of need. And this class looks absolutely trash. You have Nick Barden and Williams. They look like the top 2. But Barden at 6'9", you want to at least see what that might look like. So we got Barden. I mean, you see the physical ability of 6'9" with 4 and a 40. We almost have to, like, he could be like a 70 normal. And I'd still be like, this might have to be the call because we need wide receiver help. We scouted the top safeties. Callahan, like, all right looking pick. I mean, they're. What's the rank of that wide receiver? Is he still going to be there with our 2nd round pick? 23rd. I mean, he might still be there. I'm interested. Williams also looks nice. Evan Williams here out of Washington. A catching traffic. Combine. I mean, the combine is kind of butt cheeks. It's not a good class. So with all that being said, we're able to strike a trade here with the Carolina Panthers where we send Trey Tucker, 77 overall wide receiver, still on a rookie contract, to a wide receiver room that's not particularly great. We send our 1st round pick this year, which is pick 16, and our 3rd round pick this year to get the Panthers' 10th pick of the 2nd round this year, which we're definitely going to look at trying to target that 6'9" wide receiver. And we're able to get a 1st round pick in 2027. So able to kick that can down the road, and hopefully we get a better draft class next year. We have picked 10 and 16 here in the 2nd round. And I think, that wide receiver's still there, right? I think maybe an opportunity here to grab a safety. 2nd, 3rd round talent. Bees. Combine kind of sucks. Also not that. It's kind of that middle ground. I think we can get both. We'll go Freeman first and the 6'9" wide receiver. I just think it's a terrible draft class. It'll be interesting to see, like, at the end what kind of talent is available here. But we get, oh, no. Oh, terrible. All right, let's bring the freak show in. Nick Barden, 6'9", 230 at a UCLA. 3 Bs and a C. Ridiculous combine for his profile. let's just let him be fun. Please give him an X. Please, for my sake, give him an X factor, but don't have him be normal, Dave. You can't roll this. 56 in true value at 48, and of course, normal dev trait. This is going to be a bad draft. This is going to probably, I have a gut feeling this is going to be my worst draft to date, realistic rebuild or not. What? Running, the Chargers got a running back first. Like, it just seems like a truly bizarre class. Yeah. I mean, Carlos McAllister, late 69 hit dev corner out of Florida State. Definitely our best bang for the buck. Hitting up prime time. That was an inside tip from prime time. But other than that, 65 normal, 64 normal, 69 normal, 67 normal. Barden is at least a 73. You got to be normal. Don't be normal and terrible. And he's going to likely start. I mean, you got to utilize that. You got to find a way to get that guy involved. Him and Brock, I mean, those are mismatches, I guess you could say, positive as a somewhat a positive. Freeman, 72 normal. I don't even know if I'm going to start him, to be honest with you. And that was just, man. Like, I hope that this is a really weak draft class I guess not. It's top heavy. Quarterback, there's an 81 quarterback, 80 running back, 79 running back, 77 running back, 70. So it was a good year to need a QB. Oh, there's Williams. Wide receiver said looked pretty good. Oh, of course, 75 with a dev trait. The only other guy. We were scared off by the lack of athletic traits, and he still is fat. Only a star dev, but good gift for the Eagles on a weird class. But hey, we got a 6'9" wide receiver who could be something, and we have 2 first-round picks in the next draft. Give him the follow-up. Labe worked on strength, speed, and agility drills, and the morale had a lot to do with my progression. And I'm assuming your personality type. Like, who talks like that? Who decided, like, this is the kind of interaction. Your personality type? 3,000 XP and agility and spin. Come on, give me speed and acceleration. We're at the midway point of year number 3, and we're 3-3 at 500. Not exactly where we want to be. But it wasn't the best offseason. It wasn't the best draft. And I think going into this year's offseason with 2 first-round picks, like, that's really where I think the team's going to make strides and really, break through that ceiling of potential. We'll get Andre James back here on a 2-year deal. Shouldn't regress too bad on that contract, but we do need to start thinking about his successor. And then obviously Max Crosby, pretty much give him a blank check. You're retiring a Raider. Later on in the season, we got 3 skill points for Barden. I'm going to be honest. Full discrepancy. I put him in the slot. Because, come on. You got a guy like this who you can only imagine if he could find a way to win Rookie of the Year. And he got 8 touchdowns, which gave him a massive, massive boost to his XP. But if we can make this guy, like, slowly force him into becoming a high ceiling player, you almost feel like sky's the limit with his profile and ability. Also got a nice upgrade for Kenneth Grant, our nose tackle, who went up with 5 sacks. He got 17,000 XP, which that is high for a nose tackle, but 17,000 is absurd amount. We finished year 3, 10-7, so it's a win more than what we had last year. However, in the context of the West, it is an AFC West title for Shedeur Sanders and the Vegas Raiders. We have a top 10 offense. We got almost a top 10 defense, complementary football. We're never going to... It looks like we might not ever have that S-tier 5,000 yard passing. But as we continue to find a wide receiver 1, I think the stats, just marginally better. If we can get Shedeur 25% better, we're going to be very happy with the production. 3,800 yards, 30 touchdowns, cut down on the interception, which is good. We get our first 1,000-yard season at Olave. 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns. Cool. We get 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns for Bowers. Barden, 950 and 11. Really hope that's good enough to get offensive rookie there. Rondale Moore with 900 yards. Jacoby Myers was solid. Definitely want to use Lave more of the backfield, given his skill set. Sonny Styles leads the team with 103 tackles. We had 9.5 sacks from Max Crosby, 7 from Christian Wilkins, 5 from Jackson, 5 from Grant, 4.5. Spillane, wow. Where is Tyree Wilson? Okay, non-existent in a contract, soon-to-be contract year. But this is the first year that maybe not in love with the 3-4 sim defense numbers. Do get offensive rookie of the year for the 6'9" wide receiver out of UCLA, Nick Barden. Get a chance to go on a playoff run. We have the Miami Dolphins, 12-5. They beat us 2 weeks ago. It's time to get the first playoff win of the Shedeur Sanders era here in year 3 of the... at least competitive? Yeah, 1 score. I mean, overtime loss. Damn. Shedeur did not play well. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Didn't really run the football well. Brock Bowers went off. Labe had a receiving touchdown. Defensively, we stuffed the hell out of the run. Can say that for sure, but only 1 sack, the 1 turnover there by Jack Jones, his 4th pick of the year. I mean, how upset can you be about a year 1 inexperienced overtime playoff loss? Kind of is what it is, cost of doing business, but I do want to see progress in year 4. Come on. Come on, man. Have you seen them this year? At the end of the season, 4 dev trades. Shedeur keeps his superstar, which is nice. Brock Bowers keeps his X Factor. Barden, after winning Offensive Rookie of the Year, goes up to a star dev, which was always the plan, by sticking him in the slot as a rookie. And just in hindsight, if we drafted a 6'9", 230-pound hitting dev wide receiver, how much more the hype would have been cool. But we got him there at the end of the day, at least up to a star dev. But still, if he continues to ascend, that's fine. But I don't know if we have that true wide receiver 1 on the team. And we got 2 first-round picks. So we're going to be aggressive if the right player is available, almost regardless of position. If that's a wide receiver, if that's a right tackle, even though we did bring in Munford, generational tackles, they do exist. And we would welcome that on the right-hand side of the offensive line. Also, pass rush. We could still look for upside at inside linebacker as Spillane starts to regress. We're still looking for and chasing after a legitimate solution at strong safety. There is McAllister, the hidden dev corner, up to a 75. Still could use another. I mean, there's plenty of options where we could go. 2 first-round picks. Need to have a hell of a draft. Better than what we did last year. Because even though, again, we got a 6'9" freak, overall, not my best class. We are obviously going to pick up the 5th-year option for Brock Bowers. He's been incredible in this rebuild. Honestly, still waiting for that. I mean, Tyreek's out there. If there was interest, that could be kind of fun, but there's 0. So I'd have to overpay for a 33-year-old speedster. And even with Tyreek Hill, what's the first thing that goes? Your speed when you get older. So that's a bummer. I mean, I'm looking through free agency. We got money. We got $70 million. And I'm having intrusive thoughts. He's interested. Even on the other side, we got Karlaftis. Steal him away from the Chiefs. About $10 million less. Tyree Wilson not getting a new contract. My issue is that if this was a 5-year rebuild and I knew that I was going to get out of here without having to pay Shedeur Sanders, I think I'd do it. But the fact of the matter is, we haven't really hit that rocket type win that we had with the New York Giants and Quinn Ewers in our first realistic rebuild. That looked like with the Giants, we were going to get that Super Bowl done within 5 years. Not necessarily getting those vibes here right now. So I do think we are cowardly not going to make a splash move this year. I would have if it was a wide receiver, but I think defensively, we just paid Max Crosby. We got Landon Jackson and Christian Wilkins on decent money. I feel like there's just only, what would this even look like? How badly do you want to come to my team? Yeah, look, we're not even close. So yeah, no. It was 5 years, yes. It might not be. So I was just kind of looking at the last mock draft, and so the first round pick that we kicked out, got the first overall pick. I wasn't even paid. That's a fallen ass backwards into an absolute gold mine. As the Carolina Panthers have the tiebreaker of all tiebreakers, 4-13. Just kind of looking at it like, yeah, pretty bad. Glad we were able to do business, but yeah, appreciate it. So look at the information we have gained. Odom, the pass rusher, top 5 projected pick. I don't think we're going to have to think twice about that. That is going to be the selected. Elite acceleration, great speed, good strength. Wish he was a little more freaky, but you got to trust the talent. And, with Tyree Wilson's future up in the air, with us kind of passing on Hutchinson, even though we might have been able to be a little more aggressive, I think Odom's going to be a baller. So the first pick of the 2026 NFL Draft. We're going to select Theo Odom, pass rusher, Penn State. Don't even think twice about it. Honestly, at this point, can we trade Tyree Wilson to a team? I mean, he's a guy that's had production coming up and down here, but he had, 9 sacks, 8 sacks, almost 20 sacks on a rookie contract. Now no longer needed. Makes you a little curious. Could we potentially trade up? Could we potentially recoup something? But we get, oh, wow, number 3 in true value. Getting him at number 1, hidden dev pass rusher. A little bit older. Would have been nice if he was like 21, 23. But we got 91 acceleration, 84 speed. Could be stronger, but he's a speed rusher. And have fun playing on the other side of Max Crosby. Hopefully you guys can absolutely take games over. I'm going to be honest. Kind of want Stephon Moore. 3 A's and a C. He looks good. It'd be one of those ones, if I could package Tyree Wilson and my first round pick, which is in the early 20s, to move up, I think we'll get him. If not, the combines, if he had like 40 on the bench or something like that, I would pay pretty much any price because we're looking at a franchise tackle here. But he still looks pretty good enough that I would kick the tires if we could package Tyree Wilson and move up. Ooh, that's kind of close. So we're able to do business with the Commanders to trade up from, I believe, 20th. I think we had the first pick of the teams that did that made the playoffs. So we're moving up 16 spots in the first round. It cost us our first, our second, Tyree Wilson, who has still the ceiling of a double-digit pass rusher, and our leading interception corner in Jack Jones, who had 4 picks last season, to move up back into the top 5. Which, I mean, I'm trying to look at, similar compensation. It's like when the Texans traded back up after C.J. Stroud to get Will Anderson. We're on similar playing fields here. And with that, we want Stephon Moore. Thayer Munford, solid tackle, not a franchise tackle. Colt Miller's getting up there in age a little bit. Give me a pass. I see, again, it's all about traits. I see a pass blocking on alignment. I want him. I see 4.27 speed on a wide receiver. I want him. I see a break tackle, a carry on a running back. I want him. I see elite strength on a nice-looking tight end. I want him. I see a 6'4", 4.3 speed corner. I want him. And Stephon Moore, the value, high school basketball player, 16th in true value, getting him at 4. But at least we get the dev trade, and the offensive line is sorted out. I'm going to double dip. We got Randy Westbrook here at guard. Again, it's traits business. A pass block still available. 62 in true value. Getting him at 86 with a dev trait. Very nice. C4, how'd you scout this guy? Oh, I don't know. He just fell into my lap. I read the news stories. 113 in value. So we got him. We didn't, even though it was a reach, it wasn't really that much of a reach. That dev trait tends not to be silver. All right, let's go to draft recap. Needs to be good. 2 top 5 picks have to be home runs. Theo, no generational player. But Theo Odom, 78 hidden dev pass rusher. After the Tyree Wilson trade, kind of frees things up for him to be a day 1 starter. 82 finesse move, 80 pursuit. Pretty nice get off as well. Then on the offensive line, we get back-to-back 2 linemen that have a pass blocking to keep Shedeur Sanders and this offense upright. Stephon Moore, moving right now to right tackle. Honestly, we probably could recoup. I'd imagine we could probably get like a 4th round pick from Munford. We throw him up on the block, which I likely will. But 76, Westbrook, 73 with a dev trait. Crowder, the Al Davis selection. 70, hidden dev wide receiver. 6'1" with 99 speed, 99 acceleration, 98 agility, 96 jumping, 90 change of direction. That is terrible catching. There's no doubt about it. But it's like Darius Hayward-Bay, except not in the first round. We're able to find that 4th round pick trade partner as he sent Munford over to the Tampa Bay Bucks. A 4th round pick coming back our way. Here's a look at the squad as we go into year 4 because there was some moving pieces. I'm going to make Barton our straight up wide receiver 1 now. He's not going to get the benefit of the doubt of going in the slot, but we'll see if he can kind of emerge as our target. But that's still what we're chasing after, I think. A game-changing wide receiver. But until that happens, we have a decent core and Brock Bowers. Moore's going to get the start at right tackle. We got Ratledge, James, Powers, Johnson, and Miller. So this all O-line is slowly but surely going to be very, very good. Defensively, I would say my worry is just, are we going to be able to get enough sacks to facilitate both Crosby and Odom? I don't know if that's going to be the case because you got Jackson that wants to get after the quarterback. Wilkins wants to get after the quarterback. You look at the specialists because, we go Odom and Crosby there. But a hack, in a way, is like these two guys, your 2D tackles, tend to eat. They tend to get a lot of sacks. They tend to get more sacks than, I'm going to guess, in an example, just for sim numbers, Jackson will finish with more sacks than Odom this year, even though Odom's the starter. Keep an eye on that. But, we feel pretty good. We'll make actually McAllister there into the slot. We got, we do have Barton, actually. He's naturally in the slot. We'll keep him there. It worked out last year. And my optimism, we went 10-7. We won the AFC West, which is hard to do with the Kansas City Chiefs in your division. I want to repeat here in year 4. So we got good and bad news. Bad news is that we're at week 10 and we're 3-5. That's not what you want to see. The good news is that from our draft class, right tackle Stephon Moore, who is at midseason up to an 80 overall, the man that we traded, as you can see with the ability slot, is a superstar dev tackle. That is awesome. Part 2 of the good news is number 1 overall pick, Theo Odom. Well, I'm still a little worried that the production, I don't know where it's coming from. He has that little icon next to his player overall rating. So God bless the Panthers for yet again allowing other teams to use their draft picks to get absolute studs. Theo Odom is a superstar X factor, but all that talent we brought in, 3-5 is very disappointing at this point in the season. With $148 million, I think up first, Jackson Powers Johnson, get him locked in. He's going to be a guy that I bet by the end of that 5-year contract, he's going to be regarded as the best guard in football. Emmanuel Forbes, I think we keep him for the remainder of his prime. 4-year, $28 million deal from that original trade with the Commanders. He wants a little bit more. I don't think we're going to be too far off. I think Labe has earned another contract. He's been a great player with us, and he, of course, wants... all these guys kind of want to get paid. I do think the wide receivers could get replaced. I'd love to get Christian Wilkins back on a 1 year. 1 year, 25.5. There we go. It's a lot of money, but we're not going to be spending it. And I think the regression, if that was, say, a 2-year, would be pretty rough. Spillane's kind of get to that point where he's just regressing down. Carlson, you come back on a 1 year. Awesome. So I do think we'll come back to the table and get Labe and Forbes over the line, but there will be some decent amount of roster turnover this offseason. I have no idea what happened. We went from having not really, an elite offense, but closer to a top 10 than not. We have one of the worst offenses in the league. We go 8-9. Well, the good news is Theo Odom ended up making the Pro Bowl as a rookie, and we got 5 skill points for him to continue to develop. But overall, just what? What is that stat line? We'll say bye to Shedeur Superstar. And, it's good. Every rebuild we did where we got especially a quarterback, they were lights out, Super Bowl contender from the beginning, and we never faced any adversity. That get boring. This is very much adversity. And I still think it's down to the fact we don't have that wide receiver 1. We do not have that game changer, and a tight end's not enough, and we don't have an elite rushing attack. Just brutal numbers. The crowd, he hasn't played enough. What is it? We don't know. He could be superstar dev. I guess, and even then, though, if he's superstar, he still has 74 catching and is a 70 overall. Not what we need. We need, as we're going to let Rondale and Myers go, we're going to completely retool the receiver room. We have the talent in place. We've seen much better years out of Shedeur. It's not like this is a handicapped offense that will only go so far. We just never had that. It goes right back to what I said when we traded Devontae Adams. Is even if he's regressing at this point, even if we still had him and he was an 87 superstar, we still have that on the roster. I guarantee we'd have a better offense. Defensively, hey, there you go. 14 sacks Crosby, 11.5 from Odom, 4.5 Wilkins, Jackson with 3.5. And I'm glad that I was wrong on the sacks front there. Emmanuel Forbes got himself a new contract, led the team with 4 picks. Theo Odom, obviously, ends up winning Defensive Rookie of the Year. And Max Crosby wins Linebacker of the Year. Him and Odom in the top 3. Can you guys guess what the Super Bowl was? Like, how does this get past testing? That's all I want to know. Like, how does anybody whose job it is to, like, all right, franchise mode drops in a week. Is there anything that we've picked up from just playing through? Like, if you just go in and sim 10 seasons, is there anything that maybe raises an eyebrow? And they're not like, the Cowboys Chiefs making the Super Bowl 75% of the time doesn't raise eyebrows? Unbelievable. And I think we all kind of know what's going on here. But why? Why would you want that to taint your game? Like, if I was a developer on this game, yeah, I'd probably, I probably wouldn't. You'd think I would make it so the Eagles win all. I probably wouldn't, because that'd be stupid and repetitive and annoying and kill the immersion. But here we go with the Cowboys. Expected. Shedeur loses his superstar. Quarterback regression before it even comes time to pay him off his rookie deal. And Crowder lost whatever his dev trait was, which was superstar. Cool. Thanks, game. Thanks. And we also have some dev trait regression in Christian Wilkins, losing his star dev trait. Cool. And you know what? We're not going to pick up the 5th-year option on Shedeur. Nope. And our chase for a good wide receiver continues. Just nothing here at all. Brutal. And the more you go through it, this is just truly a terrible free agency class. So, bad roll. We'll just save our money to pay Shedeur next year. All right, so for our focus cutting, I'm wide receiver. So we're going to look for anybody that has stats that stand out. We have Walter Harris. I'm going to buy in on that A deep route running. I'd rather, like, A deep route running, A catching are kind of like the two things in a perfect world. Ooh, Darius Bobo. A catching. This is where you want to see, like, the 4.3 speed. We got Pitts that is A catching. Anybody else? A lot of Fs. So we'll try the A catching because that's all I need. There's going to be D tackles, corners, linebackers, safeties. Could look good. We need to find a wide receiver. I don't know if it's going to be a guy that's a day 3 pick. I don't know if it's going to be a UDFA guy. Maybe we got to trade up to get that A deep route running guy. But we need somebody that can light a spark to this offense. And I think it's a wide receiver because we're clearly never going to be a run-heavy team. So the game changer has to be out wide. Ooh, we get good intel back. I did focus scout wide receivers. Again, that's until we find our guy. We got Walter Harris, who's A deep route running, elite acceleration, agility, change of direction. Not only good speed, though. It's kind of scary. As far as I don't feel it. But look, I'm telling you, traits. A deep route running on Bobo. Day 3 pick. Probably 6th round, 7th round, 2nd, 3rd round talent. A catching, B. Who cares about the route running? Elite acceleration as well. Like, that guy there is going to be like a 75 B slot wide receiver. That is absolutely awesome. I mean, outside of that, where else do we need to go? I think you could look maybe at some of the bigger 3-4 defensive ends just because we had that regression on Christian Wilkins. So you got Hardy here out of Ohio State. He fits a scheme for it. So does Crockett. Not much on the other side. D tackle Woodbury at 6'6", 300 pounds out of Oregon. A tackle B finesse move. Ooh, sub 4.5 40, huh? Okay. That could work, especially if you just want to wait and get that wide receiver a little bit later. In the secondary, ooh, 6'4" corner, Andrew Bacon, 3 A's and a B. And he runs a 4.3. Got 6'3" here, Luke Trapp, A and 3 B's. Runs a 4. Okay, oh, looks like we're getting a corner in the first round. So the pick 14, I think, oh no. So Bacon went at 6. Shit. Is that wide receiver still there? Nope, he's gone. How far do you think that guy's going to fall? Bobo. Like, how early do you think he... That... Okay. Well, we have our wide receiver pick, and we can wait forever for him. A catching. We still have the option of D tackle. What do we got corner? We have the other dude, Trap, 6'3", 208. I mean, that's a pretty easy blind pick. Elite catching as well. Number 5 in true value. Get him at pick 14. Hidden dev, 6'3", 93 acceleration, 91 change of direction, 95 speed. Chef's kiss on that one. I don't think we come back around. The second round, Woodbury's still there. I think we can get Woodbury and those 2 gem wide receivers we found. Woodbury looks nice. I'm going to move into defensive end. Could fluctuate his rating just a little bit. Do we get a dev trait? 13th in true value, getting him at 46. 93 strength. Running a sub 540. That will do as a Christian Wilkins successor. I don't think we mess around. We get our 2 A-catching wide receivers. Darius Bobo out of North Carolina. Usually, I will say, even though I can find these guys, they don't tend to have dev traits. But the other guy, top 5, I'll take a 77 normal or whatever he ends up. This guy here, probably 72, 71, 72 if I had to guess. And I could wait, but there's literally no one else on my board that I think is worth drafting. And maybe it would be the chef's kiss to wait till the 7th round to get Derek Pitts, UDFA grade player out of Clemson. Slot wide receiver. Well, it's hype, top 5 talent. I am not, I mean, he does have elites in acceleration, agility, change of direction. And he almost ran a 4.3. But A catching or elite speed, acceleration, agility. Those are really the 2 tells for wide receivers. And what do we get here in Pitts? Number 2 in true value. Getting him at 102. See, it pays. It pays to focus scout wide receivers every now and again. And we get the dev trait. 94 acceleration, 94 agility, 97 change of direction, 90 speed. Not the best jumping. He's probably forever a slot. But that's fine, because we got a 6'9" wide receiver that can play on the outside, and you're going to do the job. Number 2 player. Unreal. So looking at our draft recap, again, the first 2 picks, very self-explanatory. Blind picks, but anyone could make those selections. 6'3", height, weight, speed, yep, pretty easy. D-tackle, pretty obvious as well, that like the 6'6", 300-pounder that ran 4'9", and was put up like 30-some on the bench press, he's probably going to be pretty good. But let's see what happens when we shift his rating to DN. That's where he's going to play in our scheme, and ooh, that's a hit. 3-point hit, which sucks. Bobo 72, 77 on Derek Pitts. Day 1 starter for us in the slot. Absolutely. What a freaking player. This could be the guy. I was going to say, just out of curiosity, who was the number 1 player? And it was the 6'4" corner. Oh, he only had normal dev. I was contemplating trading up for him. But even then, we would have been happy. We would have had the number 1 overall player in the draft. So year 5, looking at the squad, and Pitts gets to start right away. And this is kind of like the opposite ends of the spectrum. Pitts was UDFA. Yeah, he had stats that stood out. I'm telling you, anytime you get, for tight ends, A catching, A run blocking. For offensive line, A pass block, A run block. For quarterbacks, you get like an A deep throw, elite throw power. Running backs, A break tackle, A carry. Wide receivers, A catching's a big one. A real deep route running is another one I like to look for. Like, chase, I can't stress it, I say it every draft. Chase out the guys that stick out. And it didn't work out the first time. We got the guy that sticks out more than anyone. 6'9" wide receiver that had a 42-inch vertical, normal dev. Kind of fool's gold, had to force him into a situation where he would get a lot of targets and get Rookie of the Year, which he did. But since then, Jesus Christ, he's been our wide receiver 1. We lost our superstar dev on Shedeur. So that didn't work out. But then you get a gamble here. And now Pitts, if he's a star dev, probably need to continue to focus scout because that would be a nice 1-2 punch. Pitts in the slot. You have Barton as your freak out. But we still need that guy that's going to turn the page, elevate this offense to another level, and get Shedeur back to a superstar dev player. Because Brock Bowers can't do it all on his own. A great offensive line can't do it on their own. Defensively, I got no worries. We got arguably the best pass rush in the league. We got some dudes now. We got a succession plan for Wilkins on the D-line. Our corner room has a lot of depth. Maybe we could use another linebacker to have like a complete defense. But overall, all eyes are on the offense. And at week 8 of year 5, we are last in the division, but a game back from first place. So it's, you know, I'm going to go ahead and assume we're going to want to keep our scouting here at wide receiver. I don't think we have our guy. But for contracts, I mean, he's the man. He's the man of the thumbnail. We got to commit to Shedeur. A little bit cheaper than the 5th-year option. We got Brock Bowers, absolutely. But able to bounce back, get a win off the bye against the Ravens, 24-14 to go above 500 and going back to the drawing board. Brock Bowers, you know what? Now that we have another chance, I'm going to give him 5. Maybe I'm even going to give him 6. I'll give you 6 years, 135. Let's go across the line. But we got some guys that need to get paid here. We got Sonny Styles, 6-year, 91, worth it. He's been our most productive player. Kenneth Grant at nose tackle. That's a $15, $16 million for a nose tackle. I don't want to pay a whole lot more, but I also don't really want to let him walk. Jackson for a run stuffer. He signs on. You know what? Honestly, we might have to pick and choose here. Ratledge we can let walk because we have a hidden dev guard behind him at right guard. Don't really have a successor in place for James, so we can get him back on a 1-year. Even though he's going to regress, it's just one last position we have to hit on in the draft. But I think we're going to let Grant walk. I think it was either him or Landon Jackson. I don't feel like you can pay both. And he's kind of the odd man out. All right, we got hot. 12-5. Losing to the Chiefs probably did cost us the division. 3 teams in the West make the playoffs. We finished as the 5 seed. Though the ranking passing offense still kind of just is what it is. But the defense and the run game, old school football, is getting the job done. And for Pitts, we got 6 points. He got, because he's playing in the slot, we got 8K XP right there. He had 8 touchdowns on the year on top of just where he's at. And he is a superstar X Factor. Now, I would say the bad news is it doesn't feel like he elevated our passing offense at all. But he's about to be at 86 overall. Look at what we got out of the roster. Pitts is an X Factor. And you know what? Now that I think about it in hindsight, we were due. Because Crowder was a superstar dev player that we drafted last year. And he lost both of his dev traits just because he didn't play. Which is incredibly harsh. Because sometimes that doesn't happen at all. Especially with those gems that are just hidden dev that sit on the bottom of your roster. Sometimes they go untouched. So we lost 2 dev traits. We lost a potential superstar here. So I almost feel like it's a little bit karma. That, we get rewarded a little bit. And also, I mean, the double dinger. Like, this guy should have been... There's no way the 6'9 guy is a normal dev. Should be generated as a normal. But he was. And we fell kind of hook, line, and sinker for that. He's developed into a nice player. But that is a great get. And obviously, we got Moore, who we drafted as a superstar. So, I mean, technically, we've drafted Moore as a superstar. Pitts as an X Factor. Crowder was a superstar. Defensive side of the ball, I'm not going to, take a sprint around celebrating because he was the #1 overall pick. But Odom was an X Factor. And look at what we got in Trap. The 6'3 corner is a superstar dev. We are drafting at an elite level. And it's embarrassing that we have 1 AFC West title to show for it. That's it. But at our stats this year, Shedeur, not $200 million quarterback, good. 3,500 yards, 29 touchdowns, 9 picks. Got 1,000 yards for Labe. Rushing attack overall, pretty good. Pitts in the slot, goes over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. 8-7 for Bowers, almost 8-4 for Barden. Defensively, okay, of course, the nose tackle we decide not to pay. Gets 14 freaking sacks. I think we're going to have to pay him now. Crosby with 11.5. 10 from Odom. 4 from Wilkins. God damn, the price just went up. 4 picks. Freeman, 3 from the rookie superstar Trap. I mean, great numbers across the board. That is unbelievable, though. Nose tackle. Derek Pitts gets Offensive Rookie of the Year, as expected. And Luke Trapp gets Defensive Rookie of the Year, surprisingly. We get Lineman of the Year going to Andre James. Cool, we'll take it. For the first round of the playoffs, we get the 10-7 Baltimore Ravens, who are kind of similarly built the way we are, the way we win games. Beat the Ravens ahead of our bye week this season. Tough to beat a team twice. Still looking for that signature Shedeur playoff win, and we get it. Nice. Max Crosby, 3 sacks. The defense took that one over. Now we're going to ignore the fact that we have to play Kansas City Chiefs. And honestly, we've been like splitting the regular season with them. It's been weird. I think we've been winning the away games and losing the home games. But either way, 24-17. And Shedeur plays a clean game. 2 touchdowns, no picks. Had 2 interceptions last time in a playoff game. So he definitely wanted to avenge that. Barton with 2 touchdowns. Just, obviously incredibly difficult to stop. We get 3 sacks from Crosby, 2 from Odom, 1 from Wilkins with a pick from the veteran Morik, who's entering his final year here with the Raiders. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to re-sign him. So hopefully we can go on a legitimate run. This is going to be hard. Got the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, who we've already seen in this rebuild break the single-season passing touchdown record. He had 58 in a season. So we're going to show him all the respect. We're going to make sure our team is as good as they possibly can be. And let's see if we can get a nice little upset over the 13-4 Kansas City Chiefs to go to the AFC Championship game. Wow, overtime again, double overtime, field goals. I mean, come on. We're paying you under the assumption you have to play him at least twice a year to play as good as him. 4-1 touchdowns there. Ran the ball well. Bowers with the touchdown defensively. I mean, our pass rush couldn't take the game over. Did get the pick, the rookie. I love seeing that from the superstar trap, defensive rookie of the year. But your quarterback can't throw 1 touchdown and expect to beat the Chiefs, let alone it go into double overtime. Brutal. The Super Bowl wasn't the Cowboys or the Chiefs. That's all right. And we close the season. Labe loses his dad. I mean, we're going to need to go find ourselves likely a running back. Or we could go Mitchell. Could he be a starter here? Potentially. Grant goes up dev trade. We got to pay him. Woodbury will be the successor for Wilkins. I mean, we'll be able to kind of like take the Wilkins contract that we're about to have in terms of savings and give it to Grant. Freeman, who was a second-round pick, normal dev, finally gets a dev trade. He's been playing good football. So I think looking at it like we are going to need we definitely need another linebacker. We're going to need a Morig replacement at free safety, which, I mean, we got 4 corners here. Like, can McAllister potentially? Let's see what happens if we move McAllister. He's big. He's a big corner. If I move you to free safety, does your rating drastically change? Because that'd be nice to save a little bit of bucks there. Because we got 3 corners. You don't need 4. And he's, I mean, you still live with that. So we need to get a middle linebacker. We need to re-sign Grant. And still could use a 3rd wide receiver. Still could use if there's a game changer at running back. Our OC and DC got poached, so now it is time, I think, at this point. Wow, there's no quarterback guru. Brutal. All right. We'll go Rodriguez just because he has pocket passer. That'll help us a little bit. Hey, honestly, I'd franchise tag him if we can't get him. We're going to give him 5 years. Oh, you want to play for a new team next year? Okay, cool. Congrats on playing on the franchise tag. We're going to let Morig walk. Ratledge walk. I mean, we have succession plans in place. We're still going to have $50 million as we hit the open market. Really just looking for a middle linebacker, maybe wide receiver 3 or running back. Actually, nothing really at running back that screams not give Keaton Mitchell a chance, especially with that speed. Wide receiver, this T. Higgins, couple guys, but nothing that puts me off the fact that we did focus scout wide receivers still. So I think we consider going there in the draft. We need a middle linebacker. We're going to Kobe Dean, Cedric Gray, who we got in a trade. We just let him walk. Trey Green. I mean, again, man, we just haven't had one single free agency class kind of go our way. I mean, we got Stutzman here. He's off-ball linebacker. So we'll see. We'll throw him a 3-year deal. He's interested. And, yeah, that'll be our signing. All right, let's look at the wide receivers again. Let's see if we can get 2 for 2. I still think we need another guy. Anybody with standout traits. Let's take a look. That guy looks like the worst wide receiver I've ever seen. And we're not getting a lot of A's, which kind of stinks. There we go. Jimmy Boone has A catching. We'll check you out. We got A catching on Knighton. Ooh, Banks. A deep route running. And we got A catching on Northcutt. He's a first rounder, so we'll go there. Northcutt, Banks, Boone. Second, third round. I mean, yeah, just don't go slot. I mean, let's go Knighton. I bet those guys are all great players. And shocking, they're all great players. Banks and Knighton get the round of okay. So Knighton 6'1", A catching. Combine is not the best, not the worst, not the best. We got A ball carry, break tackle, catching, back catch, spin move. He looks solid, but what do we have in Kai Banks? B catching, A deep, running 5'11", runs a 4.3. Got B carrying, catching, kick return. I mean, I would say if one, they're not worth trading up for, but I'll pick one of them if they're still there. Look, ranked 32 and 40, so they should be where we're picking. Here we go. At 28, it does still feel like we're throwing a disgusting amount of resources to try to get Shedeur Sanders to play well. And at least the decision was taken out of our hands. Knighton's the only guy that's left on the board. And I would be honest, his attributes are a little more intriguing. Like, he looks like he's like a Deebo Samuel type. Like, get the ball in his hands, let him make a play. Welcome to the Raiders. Do we get an X factor like we did with the Clemson wide receiver, or do we get Foos Gold like the 6'9" one? And I hate the fact that I can reference multiple investments at wide receiver in this rebuild because we're still chasing and trying to figure out the goddamn wide receiver room. Welcome to the squad, Knighton. Number 7 in true value at 28. There we go. We get the dev trait. Please make Shedeur good. For a running back, couldn't have asked for a better role. Told you, A break tackle, A carry. They don't happen every year, but they do it sometimes. He's going to be hidden dev, probably 74, 75. 13th in true value. This is kind of my job. Let AJ Cole walk. Going to replace a great punter with maybe a great one. A kick accuracy on Edwin Peterson. Has great kick power, not elite. That's a pretty good roll. 66 in true value. Oh, no dev trait. Damn. All right, let's get a live look at our class here to close out year 5 as we just continue to try and throw an insane amount of resources on the offense. Samuel, I said 74, 75. He's 75 on the high end. Punter was 72 and 76 for Carl Knighton in the first round. Our scouting comes through. I mean, we're at a point right now where it's like we're starting to run out of excuses for why Shedeur is underperforming. Especially because year 1, Gardner Minshew went for 31 touchdowns. I don't think we've gone over that once with Shedeur Sanders. That's unacceptable. On to year 6 with more questions and answers. Still, the passing offense is not unlocked, I guess you could say. The touchdowns fine, but we're 5-2, 90 overall team. Like, we need to, we need to be competing with the Kansas City Chiefs. We are, we still have year 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 potentially, but I think this is a team right now, the window to win a Super Bowl, it should be right here. But for whatever reason, haven't been able to. There's a missing piece. I don't know what it is. 4 contracts with $96 million available to spend. Got a lot of players that need to get paid. Up first, we have Kenneth Grant playing on a franchise tag. Luckily, he came to this one a little bit more open-minded. We have the 6'9" wide receiver, Nick Barton, who's been solid. I don't really want to let that guy go. Freeman at safety's developed into a really solid safety for us. Let's get him on a 4-year deal. We still have $57 million. I think the state of free agency is definitely allowing me to want to spend this money because there's been zero. Outside of Aiden Hutchinson that one time, there's not been one single free agent that's made me go like, that's probably a guy we'd want. We'll get McAllister on a 2-year deal. I'm not worried about Mitchell because we just drafted and hit on a nice gem running back, so we can save some money there. Andre James, I think, continue just kind of rent him out on 1-year deals at center, considering he was just lineman of the year not too long ago. Is worth the money. We got Colton Miller at tackle. Let's see if we can get him on a 2-year, keep him until he retires. And there we go. We don't even have to be disappointed with a terrible free agency role because we're not going to have any money anyways. We keep our homegrown talent here. At the end of year 6, we go 12-5. We win our second AFC West title. We finish as the 2 seed. A couple games behind those freaking Colts, number 1. But look at that. Offensively, top 10, even though we're still a little bit limited. But the defense is our bread and butter. As we can see, Brock Bowers back over 1,000 yards, which is where we want to see him. And again, yards don't have to be crazy for sure. I want to see 30-plus touchdowns, which we barely got. And I think it's definitely fair to say we're not necessarily getting our money's worth out of, what is he, almost 50 million, 40-some million dollar cap hit every year. I mean, it is also the going rate of quarterbacks. Keaton Mitchell was solid. Samuel, 11 touchdowns, kind of vulturing him as a power back. We still don't have his dev trait. Could be cautiously optimistic. That's going to be something nice. But he's going to be our day on starter next year. 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns for Bowers. Almost 1,016 touchdowns for the X Factor Pitts. Barden was solid. Probably not worth the contract that we gave him. Knighton, 5 touchdowns, 400 yards for the superstar. Again, how many more weapons do we have to find to unlock this freaking Raiders offense? It's unbelievable. But hopefully, at least anyone out there watching this, when you have to draft wide receivers in your franchises, maybe you can take something that you've seen here today. We got 14 sacks from Odom, 10.5 from Grant, 9 from Max Crosby. We're starting to slow down a little bit, but hey, 2 interceptions is pretty good. Jackson with 7 sacks, 4 picks. Nate Hobbs leading the team trap with 3 again. And we only have one award winner, which is Theo Odom getting linebacker of the year. We get a tough matchup. C.J. Stroud and the 11-6 Houston Texans in the first round. Pretty, they're decent. Not a great rushing offense. Defense is pretty solid. DeMeco Ryans always has those guys playing, but I saw under 30 passing touchdowns on the year for C.J. Stroud, so they're also struggling to unlock their passing offense, and we are able to squeak by. We're able to shit pump them. 48-21. And even then, man, it's still like an average offense from a passing perspective. We get 4 rushing touchdowns. Pitts goes off. Knighton, the rookie superstar, gets a touchdown defensively. Grant, the nose tackle, 2 sacks, a sack from Max Crosby, a pick from Nate Hobbs. It's developed into an absolute ball hawk. And I'm not seeing no Chiefs. Hey, well, I mean, there is Dallas on the other side, but Kansas City has been handled by the Browns, which makes me now a little more scared of how good the Browns are this year. The Browns are looking for their second Super Bowl. Their first one was beating the Chiefs in the playoffs. They're 10-7. They have a top 5 passing offense. Not much outside of that. They got Warner there, so no more Deshaun Watson. They got a Marion Hampton, the very talented running back out of North Carolina from that first draft class. We will auto-spin and upgrade our players. Our starting guard, Randy Westbrook. Just make sure, hey, maybe that'll be a difference. Maybe he'll get a big block on a Keaton Mitchell run or a Shedeur Sanders run. You never know. And there we go. Finally, some freaking playoff success. Raiders, year 6, make our first AFC championship game. We win a, struggle. Wasn't a runaway game. 23-14 over the Cleveland Browns. Shedeur Sanders protected the football. Our defense gave them nothing through the air. This was a team in offense that got by on their passing offense. Nothing from the Raiders secondary. Shedeur did well. Brock Bowers, nice. Barden went off. Defensively, outstanding performance. 3 sacks. Odom, Crosby, and Grant. And Emmanuel Forbes gets a pick. And the Vegas Raiders, and there's no Cowboys on the other side. The Vegas Raiders have as good of a role to win a Super Bowl as you're going to see. I would say the pressure's not on because we still have, 4 more years after this. Almost a full nether rebuild if we have to, rebuild again. But this is a good role. Not too often you're going to be able to, at least from our side of the bracket, not too often you're not going to have to go through Kansas City to try to feature in a Super Bowl in the AFC. And luckily the Browns handle that for us. Jets are good. Number 2 offense in the league. Number 1 rushing offense. So Breece Hall is a monster. 1,600 yards. We know what they bring on the defense with Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. I think we should win this one. But again, we have future years. Even though I'm a little worried about, the Vikings win 31-0. We got a Player of the Week award. I don't know if we won or lost. Stutzman. I'm going to assume this is not good. But Stutzman, hey, not bad. The free agency signing last year. Lone free agency signing. It's a Player of the Week, but I'm going to assume, wow. How? How did we get here? Why is Shedeur not playing well? We just ran it down their throats. Keaton Mitchell, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns from Samuel. Great 1-2 punch. Passing offense, non-existent. And we have made made a Super Bowl off the back of our defense. Which, if you're viewing what the ceiling is of Antonio Pierce as the head coach, it's like, a guy that wins with defense. He's a defensive guy. But man, oh man, I think our team should be winning in style. This is. I should be happy. We have a chance here to successful, 2 for 2 in our realistic rebuilds. But with how much and how it just feels like I'm wasting an outstanding draft rebuild. I have got so many hits. X Factor, Superstar, 6'9" freak of nature, trading up to get a superstar tackle. Finding a way to budget and keep this offensive line together. And Brock Bowers. Yet, it's like, hopefully our defense can help us win. Can't rely on our offense. It makes no sense. It's so frustrating. But at the same time, a win's a win if we can get this one over the line. And this defense is playing out of their absolute minds. So here we go in Super Bowl time, and I think we hop in here. We always have our 3 opportunities to cash in. I'd rather not, but also would be kind of fun to throw a couple Super Bowl touchdowns with Shedeur Sanders and this freaky offense that we've been able to build. J.J. McCarthy, Justin Jefferson, going at Shedeur Sanders, and it's fair to say like the circus of wide receivers that we've been able to acquire here. We know the defense. That's the one thing I want to see. I want to see our defense play good. Like, our defense is going to hold them under 20-some points. Let's see it. Opening drive, first touchdown goes to the Vegas Raiders. And our defense has done a pretty good job limiting the offense here of the Minnesota Vikings. We have a 3rd down, and we're going to hop in. Now, let's see if we can get this into the end zone. We'll call and run something that the coach likes. Wheel switch. Is that going to be Brock Bowers? It is. We got Knight and Pitts. Shedeur. Let's go to Pitts right there at the sticks. Not even going to look. I got to get to the X Factor guy. Shedeur has 96 yards passing. You were in an offense that's like Brock Purdy. For the love of God. How are you struggling so badly? Go into halftime. Up 10. 3rd down. We'll cash in our 2nd slot. This is a good play. Brock Bowers cross middle of the field. Not many linebackers that can hang with a 99 X Factor. Clean pocket for Shedeur. And we got Bowers just getting separation. I think that's on Ivan Pace. That's a bad matchup. Small, undersized, slow. Very good. Great value pick for the Vikings. You do not want him going up against a blue chip tight end. Not going to be where he wins. And we're able, with that 1st down, to punch it in and finish that drive off. 2 straight touchdowns. I got to try to get one here. 3rd time we're hopping in. Let's go tight end attack. We know who we want to get this to, but it is looking like our defense remains elite and offensively able to get the plays that we need. Boom. Got him. I mean, I'm still frustrated. We should be winning in style. Even though this is going to probably be a very one-sided score. Holy. Can we put up a 50 bomb? It almost feels like we took our foot off the gas a little bit. A couple of red zones, take a bunch of knees. But we are 2-0 for our realistic rebuilds with a successful Super Bowl, 45-7. But it should have been that easy all along. We should have had Shedeur contending for MVP. We could have done it better. Even though I feel like we couldn't have done it better, if that makes sense. I could not have drafted any better than I did in this rebuild. And yet, we still couldn't get Shedeur to play as good as Quinn Ewers did in our last rebuild with the Giants. And, you bring back the discussion. Like, oh, well, playbooks have kind of ceilings to it. Gardner Minshew, 1 year, had more touchdowns than Shedeur ever had. Minshew did that as like a 74 normal. We had S-tier offense. Shedeur was a superstar. He's up to a 90 play, and we never could put it together. And sometimes when that happens, you look at it, you're like, well, look at the running backs. The running game absolutely ate. We never really had a 1,000-yard running back. This was as old school as it gets. Look, we hold J.J. McCarthy to 79 yards passing. We have built an all-time historic 4 interceptions. Let's go. We get 2 touchdowns for Shedeur. Run game. I mean, it's just old school ugly football. And sometimes that's what it takes. Bowers got the touchdown. We saw Pitts get a touchdown, but defense, man. Defense wins championships. Jackson and Odom. Grant Stutzman. We got 2 picks from Emmanuel Forbes. What a trade. While we might have screwed our offense and our ceiling of our offense by getting rid of Devontae Adams, the player we got back in return on Emmanuel Forbes, biggest moment of his career, steps up. 2 interceptions. We get 1 from Styles, 1 from Luke Trapp. Let's finish this up by looking at kind of the career stats of our players. But that is 2 for 2 successful rebuilds here in Madden 25. So through the 6 seasons, we rebuilt the Vegas Raiders into a Super Bowl contender. We got 18,000 yards passing, 135 touchdowns to 55 picks for Shedeur Sanders. And as much as it's frustrating, as much as I'm annoyed that it wasn't like we got Shedeur Sanders, the hype college player, into an MVP. There's different ways to win, And again, it would become incredibly repetitive if every realistic rebuild that we used a college quarterback, they became MVP and we won because they threw 30, 40, 50 touchdowns. Sometimes it's nice to build a defense and win on the defense, even though you'd love to see Shedeur play better. He was still solid, and we got him up to a superstar dev, and he helped us win a Super Bowl. That's kind of all you can view it. Lave, that was a great storyline. He developed nicely for a minute there, 4,400 yards, 38 touchdowns. Mitchell was a great 1-2 punch. Receiving numbers, 6,000 yards receiving, 46 touchdowns for the 99 overall. Brock Bowers, an absolute monster. 3,300 yards, 23 touchdowns for the 6'9 Nick Barton. Pitts, probably the best value pick we've seen so far here in Madden 25. I can only imagine where the heights of his career is going to go. Defensively, Max Crosby, 704 tackles, 133 TFLs, 124 career sacks. Awesome. 35.5 from Odom, first overall pick. Awesome. These guys here, this defense, Grant, insane production from a nose tackle. 26 sacks from Jackson. We got 17 picks from Hobbs, 10 from Forbes. I don't know if he had any picks yet with the Commanders. 8 from Freeman, 6 from Trapp. We just built a generational defense, and we were rewarded for it. So it took us 6 seasons out of a maximum of 10 to turn this Vegas Raiders squad realistically with college players into a Super Bowl champion. You may look at this offense and go, well, Shedeur. You got some superstars and some X factors, and Brock Bowers is awesome. It wasn't the offense. It was the defense. This is a generational defense at every level, and that performance in the Super Bowl, I'm going to remember it for a very long time. Holding J.J. McCarthy under 100 yards, 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. This is now going to be the measuring stick of all future defenses that we build and rebuilds. And that is the biggest compliment I can give to this Raiders team. So as always, fellas, please let me know in the comment section below who should be our third Madden 25 realistic rebuild. Not only tell me what team, tell me what college players you want to see land in that team. I know we still got plenty of quarterbacks, plenty of exciting players. Travis Hunter's a big one that we got to get to at some point. Let me know in the comment section below. If it is your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button, as we're getting very close to 175,000 subscribers on the channel. That'd be a nice milestone. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Helps with the channel with the YouTube robots and recommends my content to new people that really want to find great rebuilds and franchise content here in Madden 25. And until next time, it's your boy C4 saying peace out, love ya. Have a good one.